Sean, it's been a minute, as the kids say. Don't you think? It's been a while here.
What kids do you hang around with? They're all ancient. That's like 5 years ago.
No,
dude.
I'm sorry. That is true. It's been a minute is old. The last time we did a podcast was like a while ago, 2 months ago, really. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. It's time to get back in this. It's September 7th. We're about 2 weeks away from training camp, 2.5 from the preseason. The regular season opens October 10th. Let's get excited about hockey again.
Fired up. You forgot rookie camps. Rookie tournaments start next week.
We're going to do some rookie talk too, but listen, since it's been a while since we've done one of these things, so much has happened, right? I mean, you've got the Bruins changing of the guard, Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci retiring. You got Erik Karlsson moving to the Penguins. There's a lot to dive into here, and I think we could start right with what I just said, Erik Karlsson to the Penguins, Sean, because it's a team that missed the playoffs last season. First time since 2006 that they did not get in the playoffs. He's a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. He gets traded there. Kyle Dubas makes the big splash in his first couple of months as the GM and president and all the titles that Kyle Dubas has with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Does this push them over the top? Are they a playoff team now because they've got Erik Karlsson?
I think they're a better team. The question of the playoffs, I think, is dependent on those around them, right? Like, who's going to fall out? Who's that team that's not going to be as good to be in the top 8? Is it the Bruins? I don't know that they're going to drop 40 points, even without Bergeron and Krejci. And there's other teams coming behind them. So I think they're a better team with him. I think, they should have a power play that's close to the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs with the talent they have now. Think about those top 2D, right? Karlsson and Letang. And clearly they're pushing because their window's closing. Sid's not getting any younger. Letang's not getting any younger. Malkin's not getting any younger. But Gensel's out. He's hurt. That's a huge blow for them. Their forward depth is suspect, to say the least. And their goaltending's questionable. So is Erik Karlsson enough to bridge the gap from what happened last year? I don't know.
I think Karlsson is enough to push them over the top to get in a playoff position, because if you look at it, they should be able to outscore some of their issues, right? I mean, does that mean if they get in the playoffs that they're a dominant team? No, I'm not saying that, but I think that they will be able to outscore some defensive issues that they have, outscore potential goaltending. Look, Tristan Jarry's a good goalie. He's just got to stay healthy. Right? I mean, he's just got to stay healthy, and if you play well around him, you're going to make him better. I think they can play better around him, but Karlsson addresses the offense. We know that. He had 102 points last season, right? How much does he really address the defense? How much does he help the goaltending? He's going to have the puck more. It's going to make a difference there, but they still have other issues, and I don't want to just jump to the conclusion. Like, I picked them to make the playoffs, but I don't want to just jump to the conclusion that they're a lock now. To make the playoffs in that spot. And you mentioned the Bruins. Look, the Bruins could drop 40 points and still be a playoff team because that's 95 points. And it might take 90 to get in the playoffs with the parity in the league. I think, 91 last season? So, look, the Penguins can be right there. The team that I see them jumping is the Islanders. I just don't see the Islanders being any better this season than they were last season. They have what the Penguins don't have, which is elite goaltending, but they can't score. They're not going to score that much. They didn't add anything in that department. So if the Penguins can outscore some of their problems in the regular season, the Islanders are going to struggle offensively again. I think the Penguins can leap the Islanders and get in.
That's certainly a possibility. I'm not in love with the Islanders, especially with them standing pat. Here's the other team, Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
They could leapfrog the Florida Panthers. I mean, yes, the Florida Panthers went to the Stanley Cup final, and they played amazing hockey. But they weren't all that during the regular season. They struggled to get in the playoffs and then went on a historic run, upsetting the Bruins, which we just talked about, which had the best regular season in the history of hockey. Beat a really good Carolina team, but by a goal each time. I'm not in love with them, and I wasn't in love with their regular season. They put together a nice 2-month run. Who knows what Tkachuk's going to be like coming back? Is Bob the goalie we saw in the playoffs, or is Bob the goalie we saw in the regular season? And can Spencer Knight be that guy that spells him and allows them to survive that? And do they have enough coming off a Stanley Cup run to hang around in that top 8?
It's interesting. They are a team to watch, no doubt. And actually, I was in Stockholm for the European Player Media Tour and spoke with Alexander Barkov about this. You're going to hear that interview shortly. We're going to have interviews today with Barkov and with Philip Gustafsson from the Minnesota Wild, interviews that I did while in Stockholm at the European Player Media Tour. We've got the North American Player Media Tour coming up next week. We're going to talk to a lot of guys there as well. But I did touch on this with Barkov, the injuries that they have, Tkachuk, Montour, Ekblad, all. Look, Tkachuk should be back for the start of the season. We're not sure about Ekblad and Montour. I'm not 100% sure how healthy Matthew Tkachuk is going to be at the start of the regular season based off of what he went through as well. So there's a lot of questions there, but it's such an intriguing division. And it leads also to the conversation with the Bruins, right? I mean, we can say they can drop 40 points and still be a playoff team. Who's playing center? They don't have. This is a monumental changing of the guard for the Boston Bruins. It cannot be understated, but it cannot be overstated. Patrice Bergeron was, and probably still remains, the heart and soul of that team. I spoke with Hampus Lindholm as well at the European Player Media Tour for a sitting down with that's going to be coming up, a Q&A that we run on NHL.com, and he was saying the leadership that Bergeron and Chara and Krejci, who's also retired, it kind of lives within the walls of the Bruins culture now and the Bruins locker room. But it's a lot to pick up on. I mean, Emily Benjamin spoke with Brad Marchand the other day at a captain's practice in Boston, and maybe Marchand's going to have to pick up a lot of that. It's a huge changing of the guard in leadership, but also just in depth, because they do not have a guy right now who is a proven number 1 or number 2 center. So it does make them vulnerable.
Yeah, I think it does. But look, they survived Chara, and we all wondered about the leadership when Chara left. He was the ultimate captain, and they survived that. I think culturally they're going to be okay. They have Bruin mold players everywhere. Players that as young men learned from Chara and Bergeron, including Marchand. I think you're going to see a different Brad Marchand this year as he becomes the focal point, and he's not going to be that player that he was for the first decade of his career where he was always on the edge, he was always stirring things up. Like, he needs to do a little of that to be sharp, to be in his game, but I think you're seeing a much more mature Brad Marchand, somebody who can lead that next generation of Bruins, and they're going to be defensively sound. I mean, we talk about the Penguins and that they're going to have to outscore some mistakes. All Jim Montgomery knows how to do is play defense. Yeah. In a very small sample size of 2 years, he's had the best defensive team with the Stars and with the Bruins. So, and they have elite goaltending. They still have elite defense. So they're going to keep games reasonable, and they're not going to have to score a ton to win. And I think with Brad Marchand and some of the other top 6 wingers that they have, they don't need a number 1 center. They're going to create a number 1 center with the talent that they put around them.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's teams that have survived and been playoff teams without it. I mean, the Minnesota Wild are a team that's survived and been a playoff team without a true number 1 center. Seattle Kraken were last season without a true number 1 center, a proven guy, right? I mean, you're looking at Charlie Coyle, you're looking at Pavel Zacha. They're also a team, the Bruins, that come February is probably going to be looking in that area at center for center depth. I mean, I wrote about it in my mailbag this week. Mark Scheifele is a guy who I think is going to get traded from the Winnipeg Jets. I think we can all agree that the Jets, with 1 year left on Scheifele's deal, will probably be looking to move him. I don't know that they're looking to re-sign him, depending on the direction they're going. We'll see how the season plays out for them. But he's a guy that I could see coming in there as a rental and potentially a guy to sign there in a similar way that how they acquired Hampus Lindholm from Anaheim, because people want to play there. People want to play in that culture. They want to play in that city, in that hockey market, and they want to play with those wingers that they have, in Marchand and Pasternak in particular. So, yes, I think, and that's why I think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't think they're going to drop that far. But the division itself is really intriguing, as I mentioned, because, look, you've got the Panthers who went to the Stanley Cup final, and there's a lot of questions there, which we'll touch on with Barkov here shortly. You've got the Bruins, historic regular season, lost in the first round, took a huge hit with the losses of Bergeron and Krejci. The Tampa Bay Lightning are still there. The Toronto Maple Leafs, I mean, we know the core that they have and what they can be, at least in the regular season. Austin Matthews re-signs 4 years, $53 million contract. But then you've got the up-and-comers. You've got the Buffalo Sabres, who were 1 point away from being a playoff team last year, and they believe it's their time. And now you got the Ottawa Senators coming behind them, too. The Ottawa Senators just Wednesday, re-signed Jake Sanderson, 8-year contract, right? He's going to be making a little over $8 million a year. It's a 9-year commitment. I mean, there's a lot invested in these guys in Ottawa. Tim Stützle, Brady Tkachuk, Shabbat, Sanderson, Josh Norris. They're all signed for several more years. The Ottawa Senators have their core locked up. Buffalo's got its core locked up and will continue to do so, especially with Owen Power. Do we see that changing of the guard a little bit in this division? It's not. Like I said, the Bruins could drop 40 points and still be a playoff team, but I think it's very reasonable that they drop 40 points.
I don't know if they're going to drop 40 points, but they're going to drop
135 to 95.
Yeah, no, they're going to drop. That's 20 losses.
It's a lot. That's true.
A quarter of the season of more losses. I don't see that happening. And look, I love the Buffalo Sabres. I've loved them for years, but let's tap the brakes a little bit on both these teams that they're locks because they were good and they've been good for a couple of years. That it's their time now. No, but there's a lot of conversation about that, especially with the Sabres. Oh, they were 1 point away. They're going to be 1 point or more better. Who's their goaltender?
Big question.
Right? Look, everybody thinks Devin Levy's the next great thing. Everybody thought Spencer Knight was the next great thing. Like, it takes a while for goaltenders. He's not going to rookie camp. They've already pulled him out of rookie camp. They told him, "Hey, son, go to main camp. Go steal that job. It's yours to take." Mm-hmm. How many playoff teams can you think of in the recent past that had a rookie goaltender?
It's a lot. It's a lot on Devin Levi, no question about it. They've got a couple other guys in the mix there. That's the biggest thing with Buffalo. Also, perhaps, let's go back to what I said before. Mark Scheifele, Winnipeg Jets, 1-year contract. Could he be heading to a team like the Bruins before the trade deadline? Potentially. Connor Hellebuck, Winnipeg Jets, 1-year contract. Could he be heading to a team like the Buffalo Sabres come January or February? Potentially, right? I mean, if that's the missing ingredient, there is a guy out there that they can go get. Trading goalies doesn't always work out, obviously, at the deadline, especially number ones, but it's possible, and that could be a missing ingredient for them, that they stay in the race and they go get that guy and he puts them over the top. Look, I think Buffalo should be a playoff team this year. I like their defense. I like what they have up front. I like the experience they gained last year in playing meaningful games late in the season. This is the next step. It's the natural next progression step for them. Was it easy? No, it's not going to be easy, but it's the natural next step for them. Ottawa, I think, is still behind them. I can't put Ottawa in that category. Even though Jake Sanderson signed and we like that and we like the core being locked up, I still think they may be a year away.
Look, for years, as these two teams have built, I've been a Buffalo guy. I like everything about them. I think they've been building the right way. I think their management has done a great job. Granato's a great coach. I'm starting to believe Ottawa's put themselves in a position to leapfrog them. You talked about their core. They added Tarasenko in free agency. We haven't talked a ton about free agency and what's happened, but to me, that's one of the bigger moves. I think he got caught in a little bit of musical chairs. The music stopped. He didn't have a chair to sit in, and there was Pierre Dorian saying, "Hey, why don't you come play with a bunch of young kids, and you be that veteran guy that's going to get us over the top?" I think he can do that. I think he can do that with the players that they have already. They're starting to develop that culture. Guys want to stay there, the young kids. It's not this place it was before where everybody couldn't wait to get out of there and go find their real NHL home. Like, there's players that are committing to the Ottawa Senators now. Their goaltending is no worse than the three-headed monster that Buffalo has. So I think that's going to be a real dogfight. I think Detroit's still behind them, and Montreal, they're a couple of years away. Whatever good they're doing, they don't have the depth to contend. So, you're right. That division's going to be a complete meat grinder.
It is. And that's the big question then. Where does the defending Eastern Conference champions fall in? And I'm worried about them. Like, I honestly, I know we had We saw them in the regular season last year, and there was a big struggle with the injuries that they had. I think they could easily miss the playoffs. I think the Florida Panthers can easily miss the playoffs, Sean.
Yeah, because they could have a horrible start. Look, Matthew Tkachuk's one of the toughest players in the world. He proved it last year trying to play through the injuries he had. But those injuries impact the power forward. So we don't know what he's going to be like coming out of camp. Montour skates 30 minutes a game. He's not going to be ready. Ekblad is one of their most solid defensemen. He's not going to be ready. So they're going to have all issues. I think a lot of us are nervous. The one guy who's not nervous is Sasha Barkov, who you talked to probably between bites and meatballs at the Pelican. But Sasha did not have meatballs, and he has some good answers in this interview that you had with him from Sweden.
Sasha, thanks for doing this. So, the experience of last season, the final, what was that like? What's the takeaway for you? Yes, you wanted to win. I know that. But the takeaway of being in it and being a part of it and seeing all of it.
Well, probably like best experience you can get, besides obviously like not winning the cup. It was very frustrating, and all the hard work kind of for nothing. But again, when you take positives from that, it was a amazing run that we had that pretty much started from like January, when we were out from the playoffs for a lot of points, and just battling ourselves in the playoffs. And then like first round, game 7 overtime, second round like overtime, third round Carolina 2 seconds before the end.
Yep.
Like all those moments will stay with you for the rest of your life. And obviously not winning the cup, like I said, it was frustrating, but it was like amazing experience, and for all the players, and I think it made us stronger for sure.
It's funny. It was one time I was in your locker room. It was I think it was after a morning skate, one of the games in Florida. And I looked over, and you had a crowd of people around you that went about 7 or 8 deep people, right? And it was just a circle around you, and it was huge. I've seen it before because I've covered a lot of these events before. But when you're standing in the middle of that and you're staring out to that, what's that like? What's that experience like?
Yeah, it's great. Like, when the deeper you go in the playoffs, the more people you get, in the locker room, and attention, like media attention, and it's great. Like, that's why we play hockey. That's why we wanna win the Stanley Cup, and everything comes with that. So it was just overall like great experience, besides not winning.
Yeah. Is it overwhelming to like? I can't imagine. I'm one of those people in there trying to get a question in. You're the one trying to hear all the questions and answer them. Is it overwhelming too?
Well, it's like when you kind of like live in the moment, so
Yeah.
it's hard to, like, it's not like something happens overnight. Like, you live in the moment, you build that type of like life during the playoffs, and then you know that those things come with it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're prepared for that. And like, if it would happen right now, then I would probably be nervous. But then, like, it's coming, so you're well prepared.
Yeah. So you were so close. Does it lead to more hunger after the frustration? Like, what's the emotion like as now you prepare to go back for training camp?
Yes, I think that whole run, and it made us stronger. The core is pretty much same with the team, and now that we experienced almost everything, we won some series. Being down in the series, we came back and won. We experienced that. We played in Toronto, in like probably the biggest hockey market during the playoffs. We experienced that. Carolina, the way they play, we experienced that. Then obviously finals, I feel like it was just different animal of like leading up to it. Like, those couple days that you were there is just like different from any other series, and now we experienced that, so we kind of like know. And like, when you're experiencing something, the next thing is like a little bit, you know what to expect.
Listen, Matthew Tkachuk's coming off a major injury. Aaron Ekblad, major injury. Brandon Montour, major injury. You lost Anthony Duclair. How key is this at the start here for you guys? Because you're going to have these. You don't know if Ekblad's going to play. You don't know if Bontor's going to be ready to go at the start. More than likely not, right? The start of this season without those guys, how challenging is that going to be?
For sure, when you're missing those type of guys, it's like those type of guys are not replaceable at all. Like obviously, like on the ice, but off ice as well. They're all leaders, and they're all like huge part of our success last year. But for sure, they'll be in the locker room. They'll be there to support. If like I don't know what's the situation is, if they're going to be ready or no. But yeah, it's a great challenge for us and for everyone to step up. And yeah, we have some new guys on the team, and I think it's perfect chance for everyone to step up and play a little better. And yeah.
Do you learn? You know these guys, you've played with them for years, but do you learn about a guy when he's going through what these guys went through and playing through what all you guys played through that can carry into the next season?
Yeah, for sure. The way they battled, and I never seen anything like it. Obviously, on my first like deep run in the playoffs, but I never seen anything like this. I've heard a lot of things from like past playoff runs where someone is playing with really tough injuries, but now I get to see it and experience it like with my own eyes, and seeing that and how the guys are still like putting on those skates and going on the ice and playing. It's not the softest game in the world. Like you're getting hit with the puck, the speed and everything, and you're doing that while going through those things is just unbelievable.
How does the experience for you, like how do you personally feel as though the experience you went through changes you now as you look ahead in your career? Like now that you've talked about what you've been through, you've got that experience. What's the change then? What do you feel as though, how does it make you better, if you will?
I think the experience is the biggest part. Going like all the way, playing in the finals. Like I said earlier, not winning the cup is still like it's still our goal to win the cup. Like we haven't achieved that at all, so that's our ultimate goal. But going all the way and playing in the finals and being like last two teams standing, that's like the best experience you can get in hockey, and we got that now. And now I think we're stronger, mentally stronger now than we were before.
For years, we'd ask a question of who's the most underrated player in the league. And for years, it's guys across the league would always say you. They would always say Alexander Barkov. Do you think that's the case anymore now that you've gone as far as you've gone? Like, like is that do you feel like, all right, personally, maybe internally, like, all right, I haven't won it all, I haven't proved it all, but all right, now everybody sees what I got here.
Well, I don't think about that. Obviously, it's nice recognition that guys are saying those things about me. Like, I really appreciate that because that means a lot when you play against someone and then they talk about you as that kind of player. Like, that's probably the best thing you can have from them. And like, I don't really think about all those lists or polls or anything like that. I just try to do my job, and somebody likes it, somebody doesn't.
Matthew Tkachuk became, folk hero status for the team. Tell us a little bit about him. What is he like within the walls of the room? Is he like what we see? Or is there an ultra super competitiveness that comes out? Like what is this guy like? Because he's now become a superstar in the league, and he's a huge face of the league now too. And he was a Hart Trophy finalist. So tell me a little bit about what you see from Matthew Tkachuk. I
see what everyone else sees, but then I see what not everyone sees, what's like inside the room, and it's incredible. Like his knowledge about hockey and everything surrounding the hockey is like next to no one. The way he gets us ready for the games, gets everyone excited, and for it doesn't matter if it's regular season or playoffs. He just gets everyone ready and ready to go. And then like what he does for the team outside of hockey, like getting everyone together, bringing everyone together, all the new faces and old faces, and he's just like one of those guys that glues the team together.
Yeah, and it must have been. It probably goes without saying how important that was for you guys last season, but do you see that as being important now with all the new faces you have too coming into this team, to have that guy and yourself and a few others that can be that, and now have the experience, and sort of the resume, if you will, of not just putting up personal stats, but team success too.
Yes, I think for past few years we've been really good at that. When we have like some new faces coming in, and they come in and feels like they've been with our team for a long time.
Yeah,
Like that's how good they get in the team and get to know each other really well and spend time together, mostly on the road obviously, but at home too. And like of course Florida is a great place to be and live, but to have an organization like that who supports you, players support each other, and organization supports you and gives you everything you need to get the best out of you, I think it's pretty crucial.
yeah. So what did you do to unwind after the Cup final ended?
I think week later I went back home, and pretty much like right away I went to London to watch tennis. Wimbledon. Yeah. So that was
You went to Wimbledon?
that was good for my mind and body.
Yeah, just easy, relaxing, right? Just go back home, find your comfort zone, go somewhere, put your mind elsewhere.
Yeah, needed that for sure, and I think everyone needed it. It was long season, hard season, and deserve a little rest after that.
It's a short off season too. Are you gearing up? Are you ready to get back?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to get back, and we have some new faces there, and excited to meet them and start working with them, and getting ready for next season and take it to the next level.
How did you fall in love with hockey? What was it that really just made you fall in love with this game at a young age?
I don't think we had anything else in Finland to do, especially during winters. You just go and play hockey like everywhere. Of course, you have your own practices and games when you're junior, but you go and skate on outdoor rinks with your friends from school or whoever is there. Play those like little games, and it was just a lot of fun, like just spending time on the ice with friends. Like that was one thing. And then going to Florida, obviously, there's no outdoor rinks. You can't really skate on outdoors except like roller hockey.
Mm-hmm.
But like right now, the thing that motivates most is the winning. And when you win with the team is the best feeling you can get. And like you wake up in the morning, it's way better than when you lose.
Who got you hooked on the game?
I would say, like, I want to say my parents. My dad played professionally before, and so I was growing up in a family that my dad played, and so yeah.
Who is, and you can't name yourself, who's the best Finnish player in the league right now?
Mikko Rantanen or Aho Hens is up there too, so a lot of good names.
What about Miro Heiskanen?
Heiskanen is defenseman. We don't talk about defenseman. But yeah, he's incredible.
We don't talk about. I like that.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah. All right. So, but where would you put yourself in that category?
No, I don't like to talk about myself that much.
You did go on a long run, though. I mean, you can maybe give yourself a little credit for that.
Never.
This guy will never give himself any credit, Sean. Never. Like, he just won't. He's one of the best players in the world, and he will not give himself any credit. And it's funny because I think now, so many people are finally giving Sasha Barkov credit because he had a playoff run, and the entire hockey community, the entire hockey world saw it, as opposed to just being limited to playing in Florida. Yet he will never give himself any credit. He's just that type of player.
He's what, a dozen years into his career, and he's still on the underrated list.
He shouldn't be, though. He shouldn't be. He's not an underrated player anymore. He's one of the best players in the world.
But he is, and it's because of that personality. It's that inability to toot his own horn. You know, it's the hockey playing mentality and the Swedish mentality all put together to make him maybe the most humble player in the NHL. And it was hard last year during the final to watch him struggle and to watch the issues that he had with that. He's humble. He's also extremely proud.
Yep.
And he wasn't helping the Florida Panthers like he thought he could. But look, you look at it in hindsight, and the mismatch was undeniable. The Vegas Golden Knights were a far superior, far healthier team than the Florida Panthers.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Panthers were beat up along the way. Somehow the Vegas Golden Knights stayed healthy along the way, which is so very rarely happens in the playoffs. It may not happen again. We may not see that type of health again. All right, we're deep into this now. Can we talk about Connor Bedard? I think it's time, right? I mean, there's very few hockey podcasts that go this long now without talking about the guy, the golden boy, the guy coming in. He wore his jersey for the first time at the rookie showcase, right? I mean, down in D.C. on the ice, and there's hype. There's so much hype. Is it? But this is a rookie class that's pretty good. Is it Bedard and then the rest, do you think, for this rookie class, for what will be a Calder Trophy race? Is there going to be a Calder Trophy race, or is Connor Bedard going to score like 85 points and run away with this?
No, I think there'll be a race. I don't think it'll be early. I think there's so much hype, and these trophies are so much about hype and about, you know, it's like the AP Top 25. We haven't seen a team play football yet, but we know who the best teams are. Right? And then a team goes out that we think is the best team and loses to Duke and somehow stays in the top 25 because it's reputation. And Connor Bedard has the reputation. He is the next one. He is Crosby. He is McDavid. He will be the next one. And that's going to carry a lot of weight all year. But he's not in a great position. Like, we can talk all we want about how great this kid is. He is going to a team that was not good.
Yep.
It was not good in part on purpose, who took everything down to the studs. And they're going to rebuild this mansion on Madison.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. This mansion on Madison on the back, it's going to be the house that Bedard rebuilt.
Oh, all right. Now you lost me there. That's okay. Mansion on Madison. You should have stopped right there. Yeah. I like that one.
But they ripped it down to the studs. Now they're going to rebuild it around Bedard. Who's he going to pass the puck to? Who's going to pass the puck to him?
They got some guys. They got Taylor Hall, Tyler Johnson. They've got some guys there that, you know, should be getting some credit for the type of careers they've had and the players they've had. The thing about Bedard is the hype is unreal. It's maybe unrivaled because of the day and age we're in now versus even just 8 years ago when McDavid came in, right? And even, you know, when Crosby came in 2005. But that brings so much pressure. And here's the other thing. He's the number one center. He's going to face all the tough matchups. Everybody's going to be gunning for this guy. And I'm not saying he can't handle it, okay? I don't know if he can handle it, right? We don't know. We've only seen what we've seen, and from what we've seen at other levels, he has been able to handle everything and be dominant. Should he be able to do that in the NHL? Absolutely. Do we expect it? Yes. Should we expect it in the first few months of his NHL career when he's got the best defenseman in the world, the best defensive forwards in the world playing against him? I think it's a lot to ask. There's other guys in this rookie class that, you know, that like a guy like even Adam Fantilli, right? If Leo Carlsson makes it, right, they're going to be shielded a little bit. Luke Hughes on the defensive end for the Devils. He's not going to be a number one. Matthew Nyes in Toronto. He's not going to. He might be a first-line player. If he is, everybody's looking at Austin Matthews, right? Bedard's going to face it different than everybody else, and he's going to have to prove that he can do it right off the bat. These other guys are going to be given a little bit of time. Now, Bedard's not going to be expected to win right off the bat, but he's going to. If he goes the first week of the season, first 4 games of the season, and he's got like 1 goal and he's a -4, there's going to be criticism. And it's not going to be warranted maybe, but there's going to be criticism. And he's going to have to handle that too.
Yeah, and I don't think that's unreasonable if that happens. I think that's part of the growing
That's part of the
pains.
hype.
And I think you look at guys that have been fed into the NHL machine too early. And what happens? Look, you can't protect this kid.
No, and it's not too early.
You've built everything around him. You can't then say, here's our future, but you're going to have to wait for it. Like, it's okay that he's taking a beating, right? Like, it's not okay. He has to perform. And you can make all the excuses you want if he doesn't, but it'll be a failure, right? But what is that level? Like, what's the expected level? And we did this at awards. You know, we asked all the guys that were up for awards, what do you expect Connor Bedard to do? It was all over the place.
All over, yeah.
It was 20 points. It was a point per game
was
guy.
80 points.
It was 80 points. Like, I think a point per game is an above reasonable expectation on this team. Like, for him to carry the Chicago Blackhawks and score 90 points, to me, is completely unreasonable.
I think he's going to lead the Blackhawks in scoring with about 63 or 64 or 65 points. And he's going to win the Calder with it. I do. I think that's what's going to happen because he's going to be the guy, like you said at the top, that everybody talks about. He's the one that is going to shine. He's going to be known as the leading scorer. He's probably going to lead rookies in scoring. A guy like Luke Hughes can have a terrific rookie year with the New Jersey Devils, but he's going to be overshadowed by his own brother. He'll be overshadowed by his own brother, right? Whereas Bedard is going to be in the spotlight every night. And I think he can be a 60-point guy, maybe a slightly above that this season, and lead the team in scoring, and they finish last. Like, that could easily be what happens. And if we're sitting in Kyle Davidson's office and we tell him that, he would probably say, all right, give me that. I'll take that. That's fine. We'll get another top pick next year if that happens. And we got a guy who's going into his second year as a 60-point player. Well, next year he should be an 80-point player, 85-point player. And before we know it, he's a 120-point player.
Yeah, I think to a degree the Connor McDavid progression is a legitimate one.
He's got to stay healthy as a rookie.
Pin on him. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Look, it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to play 82 games. It's not. It's not easy. You play 64 games in the dub. Nobody touched him.
Right.
He's so fast and he's so shifty that guys are going to touch him in the NHL. Guys are going to hit him. Guys are going to test him. It's been a long time. Maybe World Juniors for 7 games, he was tested against
teenagers.
Capable peers, though. Like, think about being that good and playing in the WHL. How deep are those teams? They're 2-line teams. So if your coach has any kind of acumen at all, he's putting you out against guys that don't have a chance, right? Can't keep up with you, can't think the game like you do, can't be in the places you're going to be in, and you know it before they do. That's not the NHL for any 18-year-old. So it'll be interesting. I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to about Player Media Tour is talking to some of these guys like a Crosby or McDavid or any of those guys, like what that transition's like.
Yeah.
It's way harder than people think it is. Yeah, it's a simple game. You put the puck on your stick and you put it in the goal, but there's a lot of complexity that goes into what ends up looking really simple.
No, you're 100% right. And like I said, I think he can be a 60-point player, if not a little bit more, and they'll likely finish last in the division, if not second to last. Arizona's there, Winnipeg's there. But you know what? It's interesting, the division itself, right? This Central Division. You remember a couple of years ago, it was this dominant division, right? I mean, it was like this meat grinder of division, right? It's not that anymore. It's just it might be at the weakest of the four. You've got a top team in Colorado, a top team in Dallas, Minnesota, and we'll hear from Philip Gustafson here, their goalie, or one of their two goalies. Marc-Andre Fleury is the other one. In a few minutes, Minnesota should be right there, but again, we talked about it earlier. They really don't have a number one center. Nashville has gone through this different culture. What's that going to come of that? A lot of change going on there in Nashville. St. Louis was down last year. Are they going to be that much better this year? Winnipeg, we've talked about Scheifele and Hellebuck, two staples in Winnipeg. They could be moved. Arizona looks to be a team that's slowly on the rise, but they're not ready yet. And then there's Chicago. It's a three-deep division. Maybe, I could see the Pacific, to be honest with you, which I don't think is that much better, but I could see the Pacific getting 5 playoff teams just because the other teams in this Central Division, Sean, I mean, Nashville and St. Louis in particular, and Winnipeg in that category as well, I'm not sold on them. I know you like Nashville, but I'm not sold on any of these teams.
Neither am I, and I do like Nashville, and I think they're going to, I think they're going to do a good job in rebuilding what they're doing, but I don't know that it's going to be this year. Look at the players that they lost, right? And their goaltending is elite, and they're going to be in everything. I personally think Saros is one of the top 3 goalies in the NHL. The numbers aren't always there because of the style they play, and every game's close, and they give up a ton of shots. But when you look behind the numbers, I think he's a top 3 goalie in this league, and he keeps them competitive. But to me, that Colorado team, healthy and deep, is the class. They're the class. It's them in Vegas, and everybody else can just line up and fight for whatever they want to do behind that.
I like Dallas a lot, though.
I like Dallas. The Dallas isn't as good as either one of those teams.
I don't know. I don't know. I like Dallas a lot this season. They were in the Western Conference Final last year. They got down early against Vegas and tried to climb back, couldn't climb back, but they got that experience. Pete DeBoer, we know what he does with his teams early in his tenures with his teams. I like the Duchesne addition for this team as well. It's a veteran player joining a veteran team. I like Dallas. I like him a lot this season.
Pete DeBoer's already reached the peak with Dallas.
No, he hasn't. He's got to take him to the Stanley Cup final. He did that with San Jose, and he did it with the New Jersey Devils.
It's always the first year is the best year, right? It goes downhill from there. And they got a great goaltender, and Robertson is an elite scorer. He's going to be wonderful to watch all the time. That Colorado team, when they're right, they're Stanley Cup champion material.
They are. They never replaced Nazem Kadri, but I think Ryan Johansson's a better replacement than JT Compher was. And it's not a knock on JT Compher. To me, JT Compher is what he is. He's a 50-point guy, probably more in line for third-line center, second-line wing. He's going to be playing in Detroit now. Ryan Johansson, who they get at half price, so $4 million from Nashville, is a better number 2 center in terms of looking to get more production, I think. Although he could be, if he stays healthy for the year, he could give you 10 more points, I think, 15 more points than JT Compher. They have McKinnon, they have Rantanen, they have Makar. They don't have Landeskog, and we saw them get through it without Landeskog last year. They know they don't have Landeskog now, and maybe that's helpful to them as they're not going to be hoping and waiting for his return. It's a big loss. Look, between them and Dallas, they're the 2 best teams in that division. They are. They're the 2 best teams in that division. Where does Minnesota should be somewhere in that mix, though, right?
Well, I was going to say, I think Philip Gustafson, if he didn't argue with you in the interview we're about to play, should have an argument for that. But we talked about some of their shortcomings earlier, right? They're not strong down the middle. They have some issues. I don't overly love their defense at this point. And I was going to say, you can't win with 2 goalies. but Vegas won with 3. So what do I know? But it seems to me that two-headed goalie monster in Minnesota has been an issue since it started. They've done a really good job of managing it externally, but I don't know that you can handle 2 goalies that both want to play, right? Like, it gets really hard. I think you're going to see that a little bit more in Boston now. But like I said, Vegas did it with 3 goalies, but none of them were a Hall of Famer. So, it's all different. But again, what do I know? Philip Gustafsson knows. He talked to you in Sweden. Here's that interview.
Philip, thanks for doing this. So I was reading something. I heard that you are big into riddles.
Okay.
All right. You got a riddle for me? I'm
Uh,
putting you right on the spot, right off the bat here.
Ooh, yeah, right off the spot.
I may not get it if you give me one, by the way.
Ooh, I don't think I have one.
Think
right
about
now.
it.
Yeah.
Think about it. But it's interesting. Like I did read about that, and it is something like it's part of the personality that you have, isn't it? Like, this is a game. Let's have fun with it. Let's enjoy our time. Is that kind of your philosophy with this, with what you do?
Yeah. I try and keep it pretty light. Like, obviously on the ice, it's very strict and very focused, but as soon as you're off the ice, it feels like think of something else or something that's not hockey related to get your shoulders down and mental thinking a little different or not as focused instead of all the pressure from hockey all the time.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah. No, I try to, like, outside of hockey, I don't try and do too much hockey. So like when I come back to Sweden in the summers, I pack away all my hockey gear, and most of my friends don't play hockey or have played hockey, so I don't have much to do with hockey during the summers, which is very nice when you do it every day during the winter.
Except training. I would imagine
Except
you
training,
do training.
yeah.
Yes. So that's when the gear has to come out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
How has your summer of training been for you? I mean, do you feel as though, like, you're more established now? Does it change your philosophy in the summer too?
No, I still practice with the same group. We have a few other NHL and AHL players from my town, so we have the same gym coach we had for the past 4 or 5 years, and come in the morning, everyone together, and then now in August we got ice sessions going because we don't have ice during the summers otherwise. So then we just practice together all summer.
Who else is in your group that we would know? NHL players.
Adam Larson, Victor Arvidsson, Marcus Persson, Sebastian Aho, Rickard Rakell.
Okay. All right. So you got some guys there that definitely will test you out, right?
Yep. Yeah, they score a few goals.
They score a few goals.
Yep.
Anybody frustrate you that you struggle with, or anybody that you got their number?
Rickard Rakell is having a tough shot. Yeah, I haven't figured out how to read his release.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about anybody that you just know you got? Anybody that you're frustrating?
It's always Adam Larson. Always feel like he's the skill guy during the summer, and he's just never scoring.
And he's not the skill guy.
No.
Still a good player. He's
Yep.
an excellent player, but
Yep.
maybe not the skill guy. I had mentioned, that you're more established now, and you get the 3-year contract. What does that do for you? I'd imagine it doesn't change, how you're approaching the game, but does it change, maybe your mental aspect to the game and give you a sense of relief, if you will, or at least a sense of comfort in that sense, to know that it's financially there?
Yeah. No, it's like with this contract, after I'm done playing hockey, hopefully when I'm 40, I have a little bit of time to figure out what I'm going to do next. And also now with 3 years, family-wise, I know where I'm going to start the season. I know, like, that they believe in me, and I can kind of don't come into camp with that much pressure on my shoulder trying to really be on the edge all the time.
That's different for you. I mean, because for a while there, you were even wondering if your future was in the NHL, right?
Yep.
So now you know.
Yeah. Now it's more clear. Like before, it's not that charming playing in the AHL. No one wants to play in the AHL. Everyone wants to play in the NHL, and going up and down and not really getting settled in the NHL. It's very frustrating. And then your thought goes through the mind if it's more comfortable just going back home to Sweden, playing close to family, being home where everything is like it's always been. And but then I always said, if I still think the organization or the head coach believe in me, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay as long as they don't believe in me. Then I'm going somewhere where they still believe in me.
So a year ago at this time, you probably had some of those questions going through your head, right?
Yep.
What kept you on the track that you ended up going on? Is it that belief?
Yeah. No, I got traded. Me and my wife, we said, well, worst case scenario, we're gonna see a new city. We're gonna see how a new organization works. We're 24 at that point. We're still very young and get to see the US. Best case scenario, I'm gonna love it there. I'm gonna be having some great teammates, great organization, and play hockey because it's fun and really enjoy it. And fortunately, the second one happened, and I had a great time there in St. Paul, Minneapolis.
What does Marc-Andre Fleury mean to you in that sense? Because yes, he's your partner. You're also taking his job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's a weird. I would imagine there's there's maybe a little weird dynamic there too, but your teammates and your partners at the same time, and he's another one of those guys that keeps things light, keeps things loose, and keeps things fun. So what has he meant to you, even though you are kind of trying to take his job?
Yeah, no, it's always a little like weird chemistry between goalies, because when one guy is playing, the other one isn't. So then you're kind of a little sour on the bench and wants to play instead. But this year, last year, I came in with no expectations. Didn't know how many games I was gonna get or deserve all those ones. So got all the games I got, and he wasn't sour or bitter that I got games. He was really good sport about it. We really took it for what it is. It's just a game. We're just chasing a small black puck, pretty much, with people watching, and we're so fortunate to just be able to have fun and do that in front of thousands of people.
Yeah. So it's the same approach.
Yeah.
You guys have the same approach, and I would imagine that does help you, and you can see too his approach works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like
no,
he's had so much success.
Yeah, he's been both in ups and downs. Like when he came to Pittsburgh wasn't that good. I think he told me they lost.
Oh, they were bad.
They were losing a lot of games. And then coming back, winning Stanley Cups, even 2 more with Pittsburgh, and then getting traded and being in Vegas, getting a little so with Vegas when he got traded, and been up and down with those things. And he still enjoys hockey so much, even though playing at different teams.
Do you now, because you have a contract and you've had success, with that comes that word expectations? Now, I would imagine you have your own, right? You don't get to this position without your own inner drive. But what do you make of now external expectations? People who look at you and say, well, he's done it, now he's got to do it again, and we expect even better. Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, no, it's, as you said, I have my personal own expectations, and no one is harder on myself than me. If I lose games or having bad days at practice, I'm gonna know it myself. But yeah, they obviously they have expectations for me, and I think it's hard you have to acknowledge it a little bit, but you can't take it too much, because then you're gonna put even more pressure on yourself, and more pressure is just good pressure is good in a small way, but if it's too much pressure, it's never going to be good in the long term.
All right, a couple other things. Pre-game meal. What's your pre-game meal? Is it the same thing every time?
Yeah.
What is it?
I always do pasta with chicken, mushrooms, and peppers
Okay.
with Alfredo sauce and ketchup.
And ketchup? Where's the
Yeah.
ketchup come in? That
No,
seems like a
Yeah, no, you put it and then you ketchup on top. It's this European
it's a
thing.
European thing.
Yeah, you have
Okay.
ketchup on your pasta. It's
Alright.
it's a big no in the.
Yeah, no, that you just threw me right off with the ketchup on top of the pasta. I mean, if you talk to an Italian, they may
Yeah,
they may not be
yeah.
happy with that.
They're not happy.
They're not happy with that. No. How'd you fall in love with hockey? What was it? What do you remember the moments where you, when you were younger, that you fell in love with this game?
Well, it started when I was really young. I went and watched my dad play hockey on Fridays when he played, and just getting to join him into the locker room after games and seeing the teammates talking to each other and that kind of family that's building in locker rooms and that team part of the game is. I'm always saying when I stop playing hockey, I don't think I'm gonna miss the hockey too much. I think I'm gonna miss all
Yep.
the teammates around it, and that's gonna be the hard part. Like hockey, I'm gonna be fine with,
Right.
but the community around the hockey, that's the thing you're gonna miss the most and love the most right now.
Yeah. And you mentioned it before we started doing this. Obviously, you guys are coming back here for
Yep.
the Global Series too. What does that mean to you to get that opportunity to come back with your NHL team to play in your home country?
Yeah, no, like a lot of Swedish people don't watch NHL too much because it's in the middle of the night because of the time change and being able to bring my family down here to Stockholm to watch me play. My grandparents never seen me live play in the NHL and uncles and that stuff. Letting them be able to come and see me is gonna be very special to show what I can do and play in the NHL.
I mean, the NHL's been coming here for years. Have you been to any of the NHL games that have been in Sweden?
No, I haven't had the opportunity. Usually it's in the middle of the season and usually you have games on the weekend, so I haven't been able to.
Do you have an understanding, or are you curious how what the fan reaction is going to be?
Well, I kind of know how it is during the World Championship. If Sweden don't win the World Championship, it's a disaster. But when they win, they're all together, and it's everyone talks about hockey in Sweden because hockey in Sweden is probably the biggest sport, and it means very much for the Swedish people.
Yeah.
So
And you got a couple of Swedes on the team too.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Does it mean that when you come back, does it mean that you have to show some of your North American teammates around, or at least a little, teach them a little bit of the culture if they don't know it already, tell them things that they got to get, food, whatever it might be?
yeah, no, we said Brodin and Jojo,
Yeah.
the two older guys.
They're gonna do it?
They're gonna
Yeah.
set everything up and plan everything.
Okay.
So they're definitely gonna have a good plan. Then maybe I bring some special food and force some people to try a few weird things.
A few weird things like
Yeah.
ketchup on pasta.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Before we let you go, riddle, do you got it or no?
Poor ones have it. Rich ones don't need it.
I have no idea what you mean.
And if you eat it, you die.
If you eat it,
You die.
you die.
Poor ones have it. Rich ones don't need it. And if you eat it, you die.
Poor ones have it, rich ones don't need it, and if you eat it, you die.
Yep.
No clue.
Nothing. If
Yeah.
you eat nothing, you die. Poor ones have nothing. And rich ones don't need anything.
Don't need it. Rich ones need nothing. Nothing. There you go. There's your riddle for the day. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I like Philip Gustafson, Sean. He's a fun guy. The riddle thing. I mean, he does these things with his teammates. He plays pranks on Marc-Andre Fleury. Who pranks Marc-Andre Fleury? Marc-Andre Fleury is the king of pranks in the National Hockey League. Philip Gustafson tries to prank him sometimes.
He's the party bus.
He's the party bus. I like this guy. and it was a fun interview that we did. And I think they can get along well enough to coexist again as two goalies. I think Fleury understands. As much as he wants to be the guy that plays 60 games, 55 games, he understands where he is, and he understands the talent of the other guy there. And a more even split, it's not going to solve the problem come playoff time unless one of them just completely outperforms the other, or one of them's healthy and the other one's not. And they got to make the playoffs, obviously. But the way it seems their relationship is, I think that's what helps them have the ability to coexist like that.
Yeah, and let me make it very clear. This is not a personality thing for me.
Right.
Like, Marc-Andre Fleury's a team player 100%. But when you don't have a clear choice, you have problems.
Yeah.
Because everything is put under the microscope. Look at 2 years ago, right? The first time they did it against St. Louis. Who's going to play? I'm going to put this guy in. Oh, no. That was no good. I'm going to put that guy back in. Like, and then this year in the playoffs, like, teams that had one goalie, like, you knew, right? Like, the kid in Dallas, he had a bad game. I'm not going to the other guy.
Right.
Like, that's my guy. That's coaching 101. Like, you need to have a guy that you're going to tap on the shoulder and say, it's all up in the air here, and we're going to live or die with our guy. The Minnesota coach doesn't have that luxury. It's almost like he has too much of a choice. You shouldn't have a choice with goaltending. This is my guy. I'm going to live or die with him, and it's foolproof. I died with him. He was my best goalie. What could I have done? They don't have that in Minnesota. It's constantly, you should have picked this guy. You should have picked that guy. This guy should have played in this game. That guy should have played in that game. Like, it becomes a storyline that becomes exhausting.
Yeah, it is. I could totally see that. It certainly was down the stretch and in the playoffs last season, especially when they went from one to the other, which was a little bit surprising. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just like it. I think the two of them can coexist that way. It's always going to be that interesting dynamic, though. All right, listen. Before we go, I got a question a couple of weeks ago in my mailbag, and it was to pick a team, one from each conference that that I think is kind of flying under the radar right now. So I picked Columbus in the East, and if you're not reading it, you have to be reading it. Nick Katsanika's series with Mike Babcock on NHL.com is must-read material. He spent a lot of time. He spent about 2.5 hours with the new coach of the Blue Jackets at his house on a lake in Michigan, and really gained some terrific insight into Mike Babcock and what he's coming back as opposed to what he left as. So they were my team, Sean, in the East, but I picked Vancouver in the West. I'm picking Vancouver to make the playoffs in the West. I like the Canucks. I had a conversation with Elias Pettersson at Player Media Tour in Stockholm. He said the way they finished last season has given them a lot of confidence going into this season, understanding that, wait a minute, we can beat good teams, right? We are a good team, and we can beat good teams. The schedule got easier for them. The pressure was off. They had a new coach. They were adapting to that. But at the end of last season, the schedule got easier and the pressure was off. This pressure is going to be on. It always is at the start of the season in Vancouver. But I like them, and if Thatcher Demko can stay healthy, we just talked about, right? You just talked about you need that guy, right? They have that guy. If he's healthy, you tap him on the shoulder 60 times this season, and he will deliver great goaltending for you.
You can't tap him on the shoulder 60 times. That's the problem, right? And how many times has Vancouver been in this situation?
Well, a lot over the past several years. They have.
They did it under Bruce Boudreau. Oh, look at our finishing run. We almost made the playoffs. Yeah. We're going to be awesome next year. Pencil us in at the top of the West.
They did it under Travis Green, too, and when they made the playoffs.
And where are those two guys now?
Yeah, I understand.
Like, it's easy to play well at the end of the season. Nobody cares. If you're out, nobody cares, right? If you're in, nobody cares. Oh, we got to play Vancouver tonight. We'll play our backup goalie. We'll go half speed. Like, do it at the beginning of the year. I'm glad that they're confident. And I like that team. I think that they are going to be good. I think if Thatcher's healthy, he'll finally deliver on what we all believe he could have been coming out of college. But again, there's a lot of competition, right? Like, if they're going to make the playoffs, who's coming out?
Well, there is a lot of competition. We talked about the Central and how we don't think it's very deep. And then you look at the Pacific. You've got Vegas, no question about it. You got Edmonton there. Calgary might be better if Markstrom gets a better run, right? The LA Kings should be there. Seattle going to do it again. I mean, there's still questions in that division as well, right? I mean, there are. And Vancouver has questions, but I think Vancouver, I would put them in the category of a team that, with a good start and a healthy goaltender, you could say that for every team, right? Except the Minnesota Wild. They have 2 healthy goaltenders. With a good start and a healthy goaltender, I think they should be right in the mix. They got a lot of guys who can produce. They do. They have a lot. And I also think they trimmed some fat that was there last year that now maybe they're a little better. Their penalty kill wasn't very good. They addressed that in the offseason, adding some guys who should be on their PK and make it better. With the goalie in, it should be better. I like the Canucks. I think they're a playoff team.
So they're better than Calgary and Seattle.
They're better right now than Calgary is, I think. I think for sure that they're better than Calgary is right now. Seattle is a question mark. Seattle had it all depth last year, right? I mean, they had a lot of guys who had good years all together. Can that happen again? Right? I mean, it can. I don't know. It certainly can. They still don't have a frontline guy. Vancouver has a frontline guy. They have a frontline guy at forward. They have a frontline guy on the back end, and they have a frontline guy in net. You cannot say that about Seattle.
No, you can't. The whole was better than the parts for Seattle. So, for me, I'm going to stick, man. I don't give up teams easily. I'm going to stick with Nashville. Like, I think they're being given short shrift here, right? Like, I think fans have given up on them because of the wholesale changes. I think they made some really difficult choices in getting rid of the players that they got rid of. But it was to accelerate what they're trying to do. I think Barry Trotz has been ready to be GM for a long time, and he's kind of setting the tone for what he wants to do. Andrew Brunette is a proven offensive coach. What has been Nashville's biggest problem? It's been putting the puck in the net, right? And they have elite guys. You talked about the elite forward, the elite defenseman, the elite goaltender. That's Nashville's game plan, and then just surrounded by other people. So, and they put themselves in a position to be aggressive, to make moves, to do things. They've cleared out salary cap room. They've lessened their roster, made it less top heavy, so they can create the identity that they want under Barry. Not that it was wrong under David Poile. I mean, the guy's a legend, and he built that team from the ground up into a perennial contender. But I think they needed a little bit of an overhaul, and it's coming now. And we talked about the Central. There's a lot of teams in the Central that they can beat up on.
Yeah, there are. There's probably only 2 that I would say that they can't topple right now. So there's an opening there, and I like Nashville too. I mean, how do you not like it with Yossi? With Roman Yossi and UC Saros, there is a lot to like there. Ryan O'Reilly's a nice pickup for them. They're going to be able to score the way Andrew Brunette wants to score. We'll see if they can play the system that Andrew Brunette wants to play. They're in the middle. There's a lot of teams in the middle. Nashville is one of them, but a number of these teams that are in the middle are going to have to jump up. They could be one of them that jumps up.
Can you imagine 7 to 6 games in Nashville?
I would love it. Let's go.
So would the people of Nashville. Like, that place is a nut house.
Yeah,
in a 1-0
1-0
game. Now put 13 goals on the board.
Oh.
People might not survive.
Not with their goalie. They're not getting a 13-goal game with their goalie. He's too good. He's way too good. All right, are you ready to go to Vegas for Player Media Tour?
Yeah, because I haven't been there enough.
Yeah, that's right. We never go to Vegas anymore. Oh wait, we go to Vegas a lot. Well, we'll be back in Vegas next week at the Player Media Tour. We'll be talking to a lot of different players for interviews you're going to hear right here on the podcast. Because, Sean, we're back.
And better than ever, Dan.
I hope so. Hockey's coming soon. Enjoy the rest of the offseason, and then you get to enjoy the hockey.